Hey, everybody. Got Mr. Alex Jimenez, Michael Fisher, our friend Rocky. And today we're going to do a little bit of social media training. We're going to talk about how we can help lenders and real estate agents have a better presence and build a brand for themselves. I'm going to turn everything over to AJ. AJ's going to do most of the talking. Rocky and I might have a couple questions that we interject, but we're just going to trust that AJ knows what he's doing. And if he gets stuck, we'll help him out. Sound good, dude?
Yeah, I can't believe you guys are trusting me to make sure I know what I'm doing. But, yeah, perfect. Let's roll it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, we're ready, man. Let's do it.
Okay. So if you guys have any questions along the way, please stop and interrupt me. Keep in mind, a lot of the people that are watching this are not watching it live, so they may have questions. So if you feel you have a question that some people may have, ask it. So we can answer as they go.
Hey, Rocky, hit your mute, dude. Hit your mute button. You see it? There we go. All right.
Is that coming?
From this street to the next street, and then it goes on the left side, and there is a house there too.
We're getting feedback from somebody. Fish, I can't hear you. Fish, you muted your stuff.
Sorry, I muted us both. All right, we're good. We're good now.
Okay, good. All right, so you can see my screen, I assume. Yes? Okay, good. All right, so this is my social media training. I'm going to teach this to you guys like I would teach it to an office. The reason being is this is something that I use in real estate offices, so I'll go in and I'll actually do this as one of my set of different trainings that I actually set up for. So I'll do a handful of different trainings, and this is number 2 of the training modules that I do. So I am teaching it to you as if you are the agent. We'll make it brief, but if there is questions, please feel free to ask. I will try to refrain from foul language, but I'll tell you ahead of time to put your headphones on if you're going to offend somebody with my cuss words. All right, so social media training. This is the second slideshow, or no, the first slideshow I've ever done in my life, so I tried to do some fancy things, figured out that didn't work. Intro, who am I? I am a branch manager with Hancock Mortgage Partners. I do a ton of work on social media. Those of you that follow me have seen the traction that I get with social media, the reach. Rocky, you're on this call. You had said that there was a link I had shared that made it all the way to your brother, who's also a Marine. So the reach that I get is pretty deep. All right. Next, why am I teaching this class? I am teaching this class obviously to help everyone in the room understand a little bit more about social media marketing and how to use their pages for their advantage. What you're going to take from this, hopefully by the end of this class, you'll understand some different elements of social media and be able to use that to help build business. The first platform we're going to talk about is going to be Facebook. Obviously, Facebook is key here. Facebook is actually technically it's the number 2, but it is the number 3 search engine behind Google and YouTube. But since YouTube is owned by Google, kind of slides in number 2 there. Business pages. What are we using our business pages for? Now, a lot of people use these to market. They'll use them to put their information out there. They'll use them to advertise to people. They use this as their main source or the main way to reach an audience. In reality, this isn't a great way to reach an audience. We should be using it to provide contact information, so your phone number. This way, if somebody puts in their phone number on a Facebook search, they're able to back that up and go ahead and see who they're looking for. Provide social proof of who you are. This is done through reviews, star ratings, things of that nature, people getting on your page. If you're not using your social media as a way for people to vouch of who you are when you do a closing, you're hurting yourself. You should send a link to every person a couple days before closing and say, hey, if you enjoyed this experience, do you mind taking a couple quick minutes to go ahead and give me a 5-star rating and put in some feedback? Always suggest the 5-star rating because there's people out there that believe if you give them 5 stars, everything was absolutely perfect the whole time. So that by default, they think 3 stars medium, 4 stars excellent, 5 stars superb. So suggest the 5-star rating. It allows you to create content for your followers. So by content, I don't mean on fire property of the day. I don't mean listing of the year. I don't mean check out this new house that I have for sale. You may do things like top 10 ways to build equity in your home, top recipe. I mean, we all see these in our CRM, but even better, you may use it as a source to put, Williamson County schools. In my area, Williamson County is the county I'm in. You may put Williamson County schools to start new schedule for elementary. In my district, they're starting to wake kids up and have them in school by 7:15 in elementary school. So you may use that as a source to provide valuable information so people will follow you to obtain that information. It also allows you to create ads. So when you do your ad production, it's going to come from your business page, not from your personal page, and then keeps you in compliance. So TREC is our regulatory system here in Nashville, Tennessee, and in the state of Tennessee. There is a stipulation they have where if you're talking about business, you must be one click away from your managing broker's main page that has all the contact information on it. So Facebook allows you to provide a section with your web address. This way you stay in compliance and you're one click away from somebody going to your RE/MAX page or your Keller Williams page or your 3DX page or whatever it may be. It does not allow you to organically create buyers or sellers. The reason being is people that are following you on Facebook, because you're not a superstar, you're not The Rock, you're not Kid Rock, you're not Chris Rock, people aren't signing up to go to your page just because they think you're a superstar. They're doing it because it's been suggested, you've asked them to, they've done a search and they found you, or they're your buddy and they're doing it out of guilt. So the organic lead sources are going to come off your personal pages. This is just a channel where you can kind of feed those people some information that you select. Most people like a business page and then immediately unfollow it due to the massive commercial content. Keep in mind, your viewers don't want to see you boast about what you do all the time. So when you invite them to like your page, which everybody's guilty of, then they follow it and then they unfollow it. Not unfollow it as a way of not liking it, but unfollow the content that's spewed out from there, because most of us use that page just to constantly push stuff down people's throats.
Alex,
keep your page interesting. That falls back into the content that you're providing for your followers. If you're going to sit there, imagine Facebook being TV. This is where people receive entertainment. So if you're sitting there and you're watching TV and what you're watching is boring, what do? You change the channel. Very few people that I know of, but maybe Fisher, maybe watch like NPR, maybe back when Rocky was a kid, they forced him to watch it. They're like, you're going to be good in school, you watch this. But the fact of the matter is, if something's not entertaining, people change the channel. So make your Facebook page, your business page, entertaining. But keep in mind, this is not your primary source of business. So this is not where you're drawing all that business. So don't spend a ton of time doing it. Just keep something on there, every other day, every day, a couple times a day, whatever fits your needs. The Super Bowl is the only thing that people watch and look forward to as far as ads are concerned. And what that means is, you sit down and Super Bowl's on, you're waiting for the Budweiser commercial, the Doritos commercial. These are things that on a daily basis we skip over. But on this day, we choose to watch them. Other than that, the only people that watch commercials willingly are people in jail because they'll watch anything. But that being said, that means you don't want to continue to pump nothing but commercials into your space, into your Facebook. Any questions, guys? Nope. Yep.
You talked about content on your business page. Are you putting videos, pictures, script, dialogue, combinations of the two? I mean, what is there a recipe that seems to make more sense for a business page?
There is. We'll dig deeper in that here in a couple slides, but to short answer your question, yes, there's a specific formula that you're going to use in order to gain more traction and more exposure. Typically, script is one of the lowest things on there, but we'll dig deeper in that here in a couple slides. But to answer your question in short, yes, there is a recipe for it.
We worked this up beforehand if you're watching.
Right. Look, Rocky got so bored he's jumping out the window. Like, screw this. Let's stick it to hotels. All right. So what most people use personal Facebook pages for. When I say most people, what I'm talking about is your average person, your average consumer, your average person that just uses Facebook for pure entertainment. They use it to keep in contact with friends. Obviously, that's what Facebook was designed for, to keep in contact with everybody so you can show people on the other side of the world what it is you're doing. Post pictures of your dogs. This is very common in Nashville. I don't know if it is in other markets, but people love posting pictures of their dogs. I've seen dogs and I'm like, golly, that thing's ugly. And they post pictures of it. And I've seen obsessive people where they post nothing but pictures of them and their dog. Fisher, I think you had a run-in with something like that, if I recall correctly. They use it to complain. So how many times do you jump on Facebook and people are like, oh, today sucks. It's Monday. It's the worst day of the week. I hate Mondays. I can't wait till Friday so I can go out to the club and be broke again. That's the type of stuff that people typically talk about. They talk about their Starbucks. Hey, check out my unicorn latte. I can't believe Starbucks line is wrapped around the building. How does this place stay in business? Hello, because you jackasses go there all the time. And then to spy on people, aka Facebook stalking. You know, you're dating a new girl, you get on there and you see the pictures with her ex-boyfriend, how happy she was, how ugly she may look without makeup, how poor you used to look back in the day, things like that. People in business will use Facebook stalking to help identify who their client is. You know, if I'm looking at a client's Facebook, I may be utilizing that information to see, okay, they're into motorcycles, they like guns, and they love Hillary Clinton. There's something wrong here. But you may use that in order to tune in and have a better idea of who your client is. And when you reach out to that person, you have a better foundation to build from. So any questions on that slide? Nope, good, all right. What should you be using your page for? So if the last slide is what you're using it for, you're in the wrong business. What you should be using it for, and see, I say this with confidence because Facebook is a very powerful marketing tool. This is not the tool that you can use this to keep in touch with your niece, to talk to your mom, to your uncle, whoever it may be. That is a purpose of Facebook, but as a professional, we should be using our pages for this. Because keep in mind, you can jump on Facebook and impact thousands of people in seconds. You can't do that with any other platform that's out there that is not social media connected. So what you should be using your Facebook for is social proof of who you are. Now, what I mean by that, that's totally separate than the social proof on your business page. When I say social proof of who you are, what I mean is, do you party all the time? Do you like to surf? You know, do you love going to the beach? Are you a family man or woman? That's what people look into, and it's their crystal ball of who their ideal realtor or loan officer is. You know, they look at this and they say, Alex is a family man. He enjoys trucks, guns, fish. That's who Alex is. If you go to my Facebook, you will draw all those conclusions. You keep it positive, because if I was to go to Michael Fisher's page and every other picture on there was him getting drunk at some frat party, I'd say, you know what, do I really trust my business with a guy like this? Letting people know what you do. So there's ways to tell people you're a real estate agent, you're a loan officer professional without saying it. If I'm sitting here, I've got a picture, if you look back at my Facebook, there's a picture of my daughter writing on a piece of paper. And I put, my assistant's here today taking apps. You know, that's not saying, hey, I'm a loan officer. That's a cute picture of my daughter, and it simply says, my assistant's here taking apps today. What does that mean? Well, she's taking apps because people know, oh, Alex is a mortgage guy. If they don't, they can go back to my main page, and it says, Alex is a mortgage guy. So this is a way to feed that information to a client without jamming it down their throat and without making it a commercial. You're giving them content, we're giving them a subliminal message at the same time. Organically creating leads. So this is where people follow you, buy into you, trust you, they watch you, they read you, they do everything. So you have people in the background that are literally watching you to see how you operate. Do I want to do business with this person? They're judging your character. So this is where organic leads start to come from, because if somebody buys into you, they're going to get on there and say, you know what, Alex does VA loans. I'm going to go ahead and send him this because I know he does great at it, because he's posted 25 different posts with him and veterans getting impossible deals closed thanks to his training at Military Mortgage Bootcamp. You know, so people are buying into that and they're seeing it there, and that's where you're creating some organic type leads. Create content that people will engage in. I am notorious for what I consider viral posts. I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. When I say viral, I'm not talking about, you know, Charlie bit my finger and it's got 1.9 trillion views. When I say viral, I mean on a small scale, which is my sphere of influence. If I've got 5,000 friends and I can get 300 to like a comment or like a picture, that's viral. It's viral within my own world. So you want to create viral content for your followers to engage in to stay top of mind. Prospecting future buyers and sellers. Now, this is where you'll notice a post and someone will say, hey, I'm looking to buy a house. Does anybody know of a good lender? Reach out to that person, or somebody in your sphere should reach out to that person and say, yeah, Alex is a great lender. Reach out to him. You'll have buying clues. Hey, I'm getting ready to move to Nashville, Tennessee. What does that tell you? You may be buying a home. If not, you're renting. If you are renting and I'm a real estate agent, let me do you a favor. Let me go ahead and pull up the top 5 properties in my area and send those to you. This way you know what kind of apartment communities to look for. Why? Because when it comes time to buy, because I helped you move to Nashville, you may use me as your real estate agent. If I'm a real estate agent, I go out and I look at the top 3 apartment complexes that I know in my area that I actually don't have to go look for. I can pick up the phone and say, hey, Bell Historic, because I lived there at one time. Do me a favor, send me your contact info. I'm going to send it to a client who's going to go ahead and come take a look at your property. They're moving here from San Diego. The person at that point realizes that you know what you're doing and they trust you with future transactions. Remember not to post what you want to see, but create an experience for the end user. So I love guns. I love trucks. I love fish. I love anything high adrenaline manly. But I can't always post stuff like that and get engagement. I've got to post things that are funny, things that are interesting, things that catch my consumer or my sphere and create engagement. If I got in there, I was like, this is a cool gun. This is a cool gun. This is a cool gun. I would only get so much interaction. So I have to keep my page fresh and post things that people will engage in. It's funny because there's a lot of times I'll send out a text message and I'll say, hey, this will be your next viral post. Post this. Because I do a little bit of helping on the side to help my loan officers be successful. We're all in the same business, but I want to see success grow. So I'll help people and be like, hey, post this. It's going to be the next viral post. And it'll be something like my build your bank account until it resembles a phone number. And the bank account that was screenshot said 9.11 or 911. It was funny. It became the next viral post in my sphere, and lots of people used it. Do not engage in political or religious posts. You want to lose 50% of your audience? This is the best way to do it. There is a very firm belief on these 2 areas. I will tell you this much right now. If Rocky got on and started talking about his religion, it wouldn't bother me. That's not something, Rocky's his own person. Whatever he believes is his choice. I'm never going to put that against him. But not everybody is open-minded like I am. If Fisher got on and admitted that he voted for Bernie Sanders, that's not my thing. But guess what? He didn't win, so I don't care. I'm not going to be butthurt by that. But most of your people will. So by engaging in those posts, that's a bad thing. Now, if, Rocky got on and said, God's great. I don't care. That doesn't, even if you are kind of one way or the other, that's not going to offend anybody. If Fisher got on there and said, I love my country, that's not going to offend anybody. So be very picky about what you engage in and how you engage in it. There's been hundreds of times where I see a post, I'm like, what? No way. And I'll start to post it. I'm like, I'm being watched by the public eye, and I erase it, move on with my life. I promise you, if you don't post on something, you're not going to explode and die. So just skip it, move on to the next. And this is where people choose to buy into you. Once again, we've already touched on that. They see you, they see what you're doing. They're going to buy into you or they're going to leave you, one of the 2.
So I have a list of questions before you finish that slide. Can you go back to that slide? Sorry.
We're back.
Because I know people ask me as well, because they know you and I have paid to learn how to do this. We've had coaches and we've hung out in similar circles and tried really hard to be good at social media. People are always asking me, and I know they ask you as well, so a couple questions that I see coming up. When you talk about political and religious posts, are you being political if you're talking about being patriotic and serving your country? Should you avoid that?
No, here's the deal. So if I say I love veterans, I love America, I love this, I love that, and we live in America, if you have a problem with that, you pack your bags and get the hell out.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
I don't want that person as a client anyways.
Right,
all fair
exactly.
lending aside, I really don't want to work with somebody that has a problem with that.
Right. So by posting something like that falls into once again, God's great. That's a general statement. You're not saying my God's better than yours. You're not saying your God's fake, my God's real, or your God's this and my God's that. You're simply saying, here's my belief. Here it is. And if you're right, if people choose to disengage, that's part of the deflection that I use. So I cuss all the time. And that doesn't attract every single person that I work with. But guess what? I probably don't want to do business with the person that deflects, because I'm going to eventually cuss when we talk anyways.
Now, people ask me as well, should they be commenting and sharing like trendy news stories? Is that a good way to engage with your audience? Like every time some new news comes up, should you just kind of recycle it and share it on your own page? Like every time I'm watching the Super Bowl, I see 800 people posting about the scores and the quarterback, and is that a good thing to do on social media?
So it depends. If you're sharing something, so social media automatically kind of excludes and puts down any outside link that's been shared. So if there's an outside link in, Facebook doesn't want you to leave Facebook, so it will not allow you to get as much interaction with that if you share an outside link. Now, when it comes to sharing common news, let's take one big thing that two salespeople are doing great at right now. Mayweather and McGregor, okay? Huge fight. Would I go in and say, hey, Mayweather's going to get, beat up by McGregor or vice versa? No, that's not really traction. That's not anything different than what other people are posting. What I would post is two greatest salesmen in the world are on stage right now. It's Mayweather and McGregor. They're doing a great job of bringing two organizations together and hopefully revitalizing the boxing association. That's something different that's still on a hot topic that people want to engage in, but it's a different twist to what everyone else is saying. Right now, everyone's talking about Mayweather's going to beat Conor up, vice versa, whatever it is. But I'm taking that same dilemma and twisting it and getting engagement. So it just depends on the news story.
Well, and you're interjecting your personal opinion. You're sharing something that this article makes me feel a certain way, makes me ask these questions, and you're bringing that to your audience. So you're drawing your audience in to how you feel about it and not just sharing the topic, I guess, if you will.
Correct. And once again, this is a very fine line where you get religious. So if I took that same concept that we just discussed and said, Donald Trump's the best president in the world, check out what he's doing, and that's my opinion, that falls under that political, now people may start getting upset with me. So you have to use discretion, but to lead back to your question, duplicating a source of news that you saw somewhere else and recycling and reusing that source of news is not suggested, because what if that source of news is incorrect? So I think that answers your question. Does it, Fish?
Oh yeah, for sure. I know a lot of people, I see how they are in social media, the questions they ask us. What about that in particular, asking questions on social media? I see people that, don't have a lot of engagement on their personal posts. And so they start asking random questions. Is the sky blue today? What would you pick, ham or turkey? I mean, do you think just asking random questions on a daily basis is a good way to interact with your audience?
In my opinion, no, because it doesn't lead into further interaction. If I say, do you like ham or turkey? And you're like, turkey's the best. It's the other white meat. Yes, you responded. Yes, you interacted. But what kind of engagement am I going to get with you further down the road? Am I going to send you a message and be like, bro, I saw you like turkey. Want to buy a house? Nobody's going to engage in that and be like, yeah, dude, you like turkey too? So I want to create content that people engage in a way that I can further my relationship with them down the road. I have this terrible disease of remembering a lot of shit. And so if you engage, I start to pile that up in my head. And then when we have a conversation later on down the road, that stockpile's sitting there and I start regurgitating it. If you like turkey and if you like Coca-Cola and Mayweather's your favorite boxer, that's not a great conversational piece to have. So no, in my opinion, I would not suggest doing it. No, nor would I suggest doing the same post that everyone else is doing. Ryan Chapman, love the dude. He calls people sheep all the time. And it's funny because in a sense he's right, because you'll see posts that everybody will start to post. And in my opinion, that's not original content that you're posting and leading out there with the intention of building a relationship with your client. Getting a lot of likes, getting a lot of comments and stuff like that, that's great, as long as it's producing some type of relationship quality. That's like back in the day. Oh, I got 3,000 leads today, but not a single one of them turns into anything. What type of value is that? You spent all day reaching out to these leads, but did you get anything in reward out of it? Did you get a new relationship out of it? If the answer is no, it's a waste of time. There's no return on the ROI. Move on and find something different.
One more question on that. I'll let you move on, because I know this is something we, it seems like it's just silly and it's social, but people spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to engage with their audience. What about like check-ins and check-ins in your office and places you're going, and pictures of food and, pictures of wine and things like that? I mean, is that still fair game? Just current events and, what you're doing in and around town? Or I know there's a point where you can go too far, and next thing you know, like your whole entire news feed is just you eating Asian food. But, I personally like to check in every now and then with restaurants in town, and I try to interject my own opinion about what I think. And what do you think about that? I mean, how do you use that personally?
So check-ins are great, I feel. If I'm doing something at my office, I'll check into my office. Why? It gets it out there, reminds people of what I do without directly feeding it to them. But more importantly, check-ins are great because if I go eat at Bonefish Grill up the street, or no, Granite City, there's a place, Fisher, you and I have eaten there before. If I go eat at Granite City and I have a bison burger, and I say, you know what, having a great lunch here at Granite City, having the bison burger, blah, 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 I may get some engagement where people are like, I was just there yesterday. That's my favorite place. You should try this. You should do that. But more importantly, when you check in at that place, people also see that tag that may not be inside your sphere of influence. So if I put something like, hey, just had a closing on a veteran client. Now we're enjoying lunch at Granite City. I'm having a bison burger. What's your favorite meal? And I tag Granite City. If people go to that Granite City page, they see that as a viewer's tag. And who knows, they could be a vet. I mean, if it's a 1 in a million chance that a vet is also looking at that page and reaches out to me, guess what? That's awesome. It's just another way to do something and engage in something without costing you anything but time. And that's such a small increment of time that it's not really, I'm going to say this wrong, it's not really as valuable as it is using larger portions of time for something else. It's just the little steps that you make along the way that make a big difference. So another thing too, and Fish, we learned this when we were dealing with Brian Stevens and went out there and did the LGBT, whatever it was, not the gay and lesbian thing, but the video campaign. I started doing
Alex and I went to an LBGT convention.
Yeah, let me tell you about it. It wasn't what you guys think it was. But, last 2 weeks ago, I did a veteran-owned place called Semper Sliders. That's right down the road, We're going to go there and eat. We're going to enjoy it. Well, guess what? This veteran engaged on it yesterday and said, dude, thank you so much. I just saw this. And he left a paragraph of information on there. So let me tell you this much. If he's standing there today and somebody says the word mortgage, I am top of mind for that man. My name's going to come up. Why? Because I endorsed his business. I had positive things to say about it. It's a veteran-owned business, and he knows I deal with veterans. That is a very powerful thing to get in and engage with. So it depends on what you're using it for. If you go to McDonald's and you say, I just got a double cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke, you're going to be like, what's up, fatty? But beyond that, you can really use tags and check-ins as a very powerful thing. When you think of social media, think outside the box and outside what most people are using this for, because there's so many powerful tools within it.
Dig it.
You good?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thanks.
No, hey, like I said, I want you to ask questions that the audience would normally ask, because my goal here is to educate people in a way that they can use this information and duplicate it and help them grow their business. And that's a question that somebody may ask in the audience. And the last thing I want to happen is somebody is standing there and be like, Well, and they're
I feel like teaching social media, I mean, it's like teaching art. It isn't art. It's there's a system behind it, but it's not science. I mean, it's like painting a picture. You have to step back and look and think of what the audience wants to see. So
exactly. There's a very defined art of doing this, like you said. And there's a way that I can in one day have multiple viral posts going because I've figured it out, Now, I want to be very clear. I have figured this out with the help of coaches, with the help of experience, with the help of people in loan officer acceleration with the help of people like Rock. Everybody that I interact with feeds a piece of this puzzle because you start to hear certain things that you never think of. So this isn't something I came up with myself and sat down and said, oh my God, this is brilliant, we're going to do this. This is something collectively that people that I associate with have brought up great points, different things, different point of views. You know, my foundation of this got started from a coach that spewed this information, was an expert at this. So, you know, all of that comes together, and those bits and pieces bring together what you're seeing here. So,
Dig it.
good?
Dig it. We're
All
good.
right. All right, so EdgeRank. Fisher, you know what EdgeRank is. So EdgeRank is basically the way that Facebook ranks you amongst your peers. This is typically affected by likes, comments, and shares. So you have a level of how much this provides to your EdgeRank. So think of this in a sense as a popularity contest. You know, Facebook is almost like high school. People like you more. They see you more. They want to be like you. They replicate you. They duplicate you. So if somebody sees your post, what's very natural for a lot of us to do? A lot of us would go through like, love, funny, whatever. And that's just human nature to do that because you want people to know that you're watching them, you're thinking about them, you're scrolling through. Hell, there's been times you like a picture you don't even really like. You just like it because it's human nature to hit the like button. It's the way we kind of, you know, say what's up to people walking in and out of the hallway. And that's why I use high school as a comparison here, because realistically it is. It's like walking down the hallway and be like, hey man, you know, that's what a like is. Now comments are a little more in depth. That's when you're going in, you're actually making some type of comment about whatever it is that you're seeing or the view or the post or whatever. Now that boosts the EdgeRank up a little more because that shows that you're engaging with the person. So something somebody has said has created some sort of engagement. Once again, like the high school thing, you're walking in and you stop someone, you're like, man, that's a nice shirt. I love that shirt. Where'd you get it? That's an engagement that people say, okay, the popularity is starting to move up. And as those grow, the comments are the second highest thing. So as more and more people comment, Facebook says, this is important. People are engaging. More people are commenting. We're going to push this up so more people see it. Now, shares is the ultimate viral thing. Think about this. How many times have you seen a video that took place halfway across the world and you see it within 24 hours of it being posted? The reason being is everybody thinks that's funny, so they're sharing it. So Facebook says, wow, this is awesome. Somebody really cares about this. They're sharing it to show it to their friends, which in turn, we're going to expose it to more of their original posters' friends, and we're going to make this thing go a little bit more viral. So as they continue to share that, it grows and grows and grows and grows until you see these large-scale viral things. Once again, a share, like the high school thing, is me saying, hey, dude, Rocky, did you see Michael Fisher's shirt today? That thing's badass, dude. You got to take a look at it when you walk by and see him in the hallway. Exactly. More good shot kills. But, you know, that's the comparison of it. You think of it like high school. Like is like walking down the hallway and saying what's up to somebody. A comment's complimenting them on something or commenting on something. A share is telling your buddy about it, and then your buddy wants to run and go see it, so the popularity goes up. Now, the time decay also plays a role in these items. So you see things that go viral, but then they drop off and you never see them again. The reason being is the engagement stopped. People stopped caring about Michael Fisher's shirt, so they stopped looking at it, so they stopped walking in the hallway to get a peek of it, and so it starts to drop down and the popularity loses its momentum. Same with the comments. People stop engaging, so it means it's hit its ceiling. The engagement has dropped down, and it's going to start to be stale and start to fall off the map, so the next viral thing that hits can be on the map. This is the way Facebook keeps you engaged. So Facebook draws you in by giving you the things that are popular, the Michael Fisher shirts, you know, the videos, things like that people actually want to see. So that all falls into the time to get portion of it, which, you know, falls into the EdgeRank or the popularity. Now, Facebook knows that, hey, if this person's getting a lot of traction constantly, we're going to constantly keep this person's feed up. Do you think that Chris Rock has to get on there and do a viral post for Facebook to be like, everybody needs to see Chris Rock's video? No. What they do is they know Chris Rock's popular. His EdgeRank's always up high, and so he gets a lot of exposure when he announces something because he's influential and people want to see what Chris Rock has to say. And then what do they do and how does it affect my post exposure? So the idea is to keep things popular, so to speak, to keep the EdgeRank up. You can literally take an old post that had a lot of traction and comment in it, and it'll bump it back up to the top and it'll start getting engagement again. One of the things I like to use this comparison is you've got a buddy you went to college with, you were in the same dorm room, but you hadn't talked since college. And then all of a sudden the post that you see that pops up is he's getting engaged. That gained a lot of traction because a lot of people respond to engagements in a positive way. Well, it starts to filter out more and more and more, and reach the outer limits of the sphere until the time decay dies off and it shrinks back in. So you start to see that guy that you never talked to since college, that he's getting engaged, you engage in that, and then all of a sudden it just drops back off because you no longer engage with that post or anything further that he has to say. And so you see those people kind of blend into the darkness. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right, next slide. Post content. Okay, so we'll talk about short post versus long post. There is a timer, so to speak, within Facebook.
Alex, on that last slide, go back one slide. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop, but go ahead. I have ADD. Yeah. Do you have any method, or am I just a couple slides ahead of posting like a time of day? Does time of day matter? Is that
okay? So time of day. I know there's been more specific times of day. There's the time of day that a lot of people use, and there's the time of day in my mind that I like to use as well. Excuse me. So typically a post at about 7 o'clock in the morning is a great post, maybe a little bit earlier, because people are getting up, they're getting on Facebook, they're laying in bed, they're wiping the eye boogers out of their eyes, they're looking over at the person they don't like, whatever it is, and they're getting on Facebook. And so an early post gets a lot of engagement. It's typically what most people do. You, Rocky and Fisher, when you get up in the morning, do you get on Facebook? Yes, no, maybe? Thumbs up if you do.
I stop Facebook. Facebook wakes me up. I use the Facebook alarm. Once there's a certain number of posts, I wake up. Otherwise I just keep sleeping.
3,000 posts, you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So most people, when they wake up in the morning, they engage in Facebook. And it's because they want to figure out what happened last night, what went on with that, the guy that went to jail for this or something like that. Facebook for a lot of people are their actual news.
What kind of friends do you have, Alex?
Life. But no, it may be a post that somebody put a news article up. In my case, a lot of times it's people that have gotten hit on a motorcycle, and everybody wants to know who it is. So this post will start evolving, and you'll get up in the morning and be like, "Who was it?" So you'll go back through and find out. Like I said, it's a lot of people. This is their news source, their community news source, and their world news source. So they'll get in and engage. Also, I do another one right before lunch, because what do you do before lunch? You sit there and then you wait for them to call your table, and you're going like this, and you're going through Facebook. I like to do one right before the workday ends, typically 4:45, 5 o'clock, because people sitting in traffic will be on Facebook. I don't know if that happens everywhere. In Nashville, Tennessee, you are on Facebook if you're sitting in traffic on 65 South or one of the other trillion interstates we have out here. And then I do a late night one about 9 o'clock or so. Kids are in bed. Everybody's relaxing. Because keep in mind, your average Facebook user is in the low 40s. So literally, kids are in bed, and they're getting on Facebook to catch up with their buddies, catch up with their friends, talk about the poker weekend, something like that. So you'll do another post then. And then if I'm up late, which I usually am, I'll do like a midnight post. And that's for the veterans, because my specific reach is veterans. That's for the vet that's laying there that can't fall asleep because he's got a million things running through his mind. And you'll see engagement with that as well. So I found that those different times are very valuable on when to consistently post. And so when I do the content commercial, like I talk about, where you'll do something about me, something about me, something about me, something about business, it rotates that cycle. So this something about business will hit 7 o'clock sometimes, then it'll hit 11 o'clock, then it'll hit 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, then it'll hit 9 o'clock. And it rotates it to where different audiences, different time of the day are seeing different pieces of content. So it never becomes the same commercial at 9 o'clock every single night, every single day of the week, to where that post gets skipped. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Perfect. All right. We good?
We're good, man. Yep.
All right, cool. All right, so post content, once again, we fall back into short posts versus long posts. So there's this imaginary timer little thing when you go into Facebook. And it says, okay, if this is important, it's going to be a little bit of thought into this post. It could be a rant. It could be anything. But if I post a post that says, I like cheese, and that's it, that's not a very high importance post. So it's going to kind of sink down there in what we're talking about, edge rank. Now, if I put, I like cheese, specifically mozzarella. It's my favorite cheese in the world. I love it on pizza. There's nothing better than New York mozzarella cheese. And I continue to go. That's a longer post that took more thought. There's more value within that post. Facebook reads that algorithm and says, okay, this is important because Alex took quite a bit of time, character count, and everything else to post this. So we're going to kind of boost it up a little bit more. Now, that being said, if you copy and paste a post, I don't care if it's 1,000,000 miles long or 2 words long, you're not going to get much interaction with it because Facebook knows that you copied and pasted this. I literally had a loan officer that I'm helping say that they went and they tried that. They split tested that with the exact same verbiage. One was typed, one was not. Same picture on both. And one got 3 times the engagement because Facebook realizes when you're copying and pasting. Same with using Hootsuite, Buffer, all the other stuff. You can't say, I'm happy tomorrow at 12 o'clock because you don't know how you feel then. So Facebook takes those as kind of preset posts and they don't get the same traction. Posts with videos versus posts with pictures. So we're talking about 2 of our most important types of posts. Very, very rarely, and you guys can go back and you can look at my Facebook, very rarely do I post a post without at least a picture. And the reason being is because Facebook likes pictures. Pictures tell a story. When you tell a story and it includes a picture, that tells a bigger story. Here's proof of my story. But when you do it with a video, because of Facebook's relationship against YouTube, it's like ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, but worse. They don't want YouTube to exist anymore. So because of that reason, we find that videos are getting a lot more traction than anything else. You can literally do an ad with a video and probably get 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 more times the interaction than you will with just verbiage or a picture. So if you can do videos, do them. If you can't do videos, do them anyways, because eventually you will get good at videos. I sucked at videos. You can ask Jeff. Jeff, when we did my first video, ask this man right here. Come here. My first video, I was shaky, like stuttering, stumbling over words, and it was just because it was a video. I didn't want to. My first video sucked, didn't it? But I mean, it sucked. Whatever. He just doesn't want to get fired, but it did. It sucked, and so I had to get used to it. So I constantly did them, and I constantly did live videos, and I did it because they sucked, and now they're better. And now people will be like, "Dude, I saw your video last night." So do videos. Organic Facebook posts versus posts LinkedIn from an outside source. So you see something about Wall Street or Wells Fargo, and you take the link from wallstreetjournal.com and you post it on your page. You're not going to get a ton of engagement. If you talk about the news with Wells Fargo and what's went on or whatever the news story is, not picking on Wells Fargo, but whatever the news story is, if you talk about that and not link it, then you're going to get a little more engagement. Now, if you decide to link that somewhere in the body of the thread, not the actual subject of it, then you're going to get more engagement because Facebook doesn't read those comments. What it reads is the algorithm within the post that you start. Questions?
No, but I have something to add to that, and it comes from some of the work we've done with Brian Stevens from the National Real Estate Post. If you don't follow him, you really should. Brian is always telling us a couple things when it comes to videos. We know that videos are way more engaging on Facebook, way more popular. Many folks are just afraid of the camera. And the mindset for making a video, just like you said, Alex, today's video that I'm going to make is going to be the worst video that I've ever done. This hangout I'm doing with you guys is the worst hangout I've ever done. It doesn't matter because tomorrow's is going to be better. So in your mind, just tell yourself, well, it's going to suck. I'm going to try my best, but it's probably not going to be perfect. Tomorrow is going to be a whole lot better, but I'm going to learn every time I do one. I'm going to keep trying to make good videos. And just like you, the first few videos I make are terrible. I was going through my YouTube channel, looking at some videos that I made at an event in Las Vegas, a training event, and they were awful. But I look at the videos that I make now, and they're 1,000 times better because I pay attention more, and I've just gotten a little bit better. I still stutter a lot. I say and ah a lot, but I at least do better now than I did in the past. And some of this comes from understanding, too, things like Brian Stevens teaches us. We're making videos. We want them to have some value to our audience, want them to be entertaining or engaging or enriching. And, perhaps at the end, we'll maybe have some kind of call to action if we're talking any bit about business. Hey, if you have any questions, hit me up at ajnashville.com, stuff like that. So, when you're out there making videos, don't be afraid to suck. Don't be afraid to make the worst video that you ever made in your life, because it still works. People still see who you are. They still like you. Just be honest.
And the other thing too is I can't tell you how many videos I did that look just like Rocky's video right now. Where
straight up.
I look like the person that they interview on the news. That all I need is like a voice disguise.
Right. We're here talking to Rocky Biltmore.
You weren't supposed to say my name.
Rocky's wanted in 17 countries currently.
But no, and then somebody gave me feedback. They're like, get better lighting. I have a full lighting studio set up upstairs now. This thing has evolved. When I bought my microphone, I didn't use it for like the first month because I'm like, I don't need this. It's not going to work. But then the audio quality got better. Then Fisher used to give me crap about my camera because it was on the front of a laptop. Well, then I set my screens up to where I have no choice but to buy an external camera. Went to Walmart, $29. Camera works awesome. No more glitchiness. I can move. Everything's great. So it's about
next step. Buy a $50 camera because I think the one I got's a little better than yours. $50 camera.
Whatever.
Yep. Move
You're
up.
not looking at the picture here. So, but anyways, moving on. All right. So 007, are you a secret agent? What this simply means is, can I find you on the internet, not just Facebook, but on the internet in general? Because what you have is you have a lot of people that you go in and you type in their information and you cannot find them. Well, let me tell you what most millennials are doing nowadays. So they're taking, and I'm hoping you guys can see my Google page. Correct? Good? All right, good. So they're taking, and Michael Fisher, he calls me and he says, he's just trying to reach out to me. There was a lead I put up. I wanted some information, and I'll just use my number because I know it off the top of my head. So we go 615-243-3774. Now, my information is searchable on here. So if you're Michael Fisher and I've called you, you can get on here and look and say, okay, yeah, this is Alex. He's a branch manager. Let me see some more things about him. So this now makes sense why I called you, okay? Because you were expecting a lender to call because the lender said he would. So now they can pull this information up and they can see the fact that a phone call has been made or something like that. So this is a great way for your clients or potential clients to find you. If you don't have your phone number plugged into your Facebook, you should plug it in because people are searching for phone numbers this way. The other thing they may search is just a simple Google search. How do I know? Because I've done it before. So they'll go into Google and they'll search your information. If you do not have your information in here, then there is a problem. If you cannot type in your phone number and it pull up your information, there is an issue. Now, the way to fix this issue is to go in and to fill out all your profiles on every single thing you have. Keep in mind, we're not secret agents. The goal isn't to be as elusive as possible, and nobody can find me because we're in an industry that people want to know who you are because they want to Google search you. Because if I tell Rocky, hey, man, you need to go talk to this Michael Fisher dude. He's really good. He used to work for XYZ company, but he left, and I don't remember where he went. If I can't give you Fisher's number and you pull up his current office, Fisher just lost a piece of business. Because guess what? If I put in this number and it's 24, let's change a digit in here, and it comes up like this, I'm not calling you. Are you kidding me? But if it comes up like this, I'm going to call you. You're in business. You're my guy. Why? Because I found you. Because I know you're realistic. Because I can do searches on you and see who it is that I'm talking to. Sorry, that's an old picture. As you can see, I look much better than that now. But I can go ahead and I can pull up this information. Heck, it's even on Listing Booster. I don't know where, but it's supposed to be on here. But anyways, as you can see, being a secret agent doesn't help anybody. So go out, fill out your Trulia, fill out your Realtor.com, fill out the Zillow. We don't like Zillow, but fill it out because we want people to be able to pull up your information and see who it is that they're doing business with and be able to contact you in some way. Once again, if I switch from XYZ company to Hancock Mortgage, I want people to be able to find me. The branding piece of that, we'll get into that in a different class. I don't really want to touch on that too much. But this is where you want to brand yourself as well. And just so those of you that are watching, this is where I start towards the end of this. I start driving another class in. So if my next class is branding, I start driving that in. And the reason being is towards the end of the class, I want people's next thing on their mind to be like, dude, we got to get him in for that branding class he talked about, because he did like Hansel and Gretel and dropped all these little pieces of bread and told us where it was going, but we're not quite there. So I start driving home this branding class that I have coming up. Notice that I'm more than halfway through the slide because I want to keep it fresh on the mind. This way, you ask me about the branding class at the end. I've just sparked somebody's interest when I said, this is where you want to talk about branding and make sure that you brand yourself so people find you in the future. Next slide. Any questions? Good? All right. Don't be a secret agent.
Where do people find you? And I'll put your plug now because I don't want to ruin your presentation. But Alex, sharing this with a lot of folks in loan officers, he's sharing his time for free. So if you're a realtor watching this, or if you're a loan officer, and especially if you know a veteran that needs help, how do they find you, Alex?
So the easiest way to find me is ajnashville.com. You have all my sources on there. You can simply find me. I will show you. Since Fisher, you brought it up, I'm going to go ahead and do the shameless plug. And what? I'm actually
all your Facebook, all your branding, everything leads to this. So it's a tie-in. It's important when you're doing social media that you're tying your social media in with your business pages, and everything's consistent and coherent.
And we do that in the actual meeting. So this is where I pull people in and I say, look, you can find me here. If you're a veteran, what are you going to click on? Where it says I'm a veteran. If you want to find me on Facebook, you're going there, Instagram, email, LinkedIn, meet with me, whatever you want to do, it's right here. And so by showing people this, they're engaging in the fact that I can teach branding. And so they look at this and they're like, wow, we got to get that branding class because this looks good. It really does. And I don't market my Veteran Mortgage Pro page, only ajnashville.com, because I don't want to be a Toyota Lexus. I just want to be a Lexus and that's it, or a Toyota and that's it. And the reason why I use those comparables is because you have two big giants in the same company bound together, but they identify as two different pieces, if that makes sense. So yes, ajnashville.com. If you don't follow me and would like to see some of the content that I post, I encourage you to follow me. I've got 5,000 friends, but I will happily delete a person to add you if your true interest is in building. The thing is, like Michael Fisher says, I don't get paid for this. What I like to see is growth and success. There's more than enough business in this industry to where we can all eat and all eat well, because those that aren't doing this are going to starve out anyways, and I feel bad for them, but I can't make you eat if I lead you to the water. Can't make you drink unless I turn water into wine. Anyways, so Facebook groups. Which groups do you belong to? This is key. So I'm big in motorcycle groups. I'm big into it because I own a motorcycle race company. So me being big into that group is important and imperative to my business. But I also get a lot of mortgage business out of there. So you should be involved in groups that are in your sphere of influence, your sphere of knowledge, the things you know, the things you can interact with. Because the thing is, when people go on there and someone says, hey, I need a rear sprocket for a 2009 Yamaha R6, 30 people are like, call Alex, call Alex, call Alex, call Alex. But in that same group, if somebody jumps in and says, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house because I need a place for a motorcycle to sleep at night and almost got stolen last night, they say the same thing. I don't get on there and say, hey, I'm the mortgage guru here, but the admins and everybody else know what it is I do for a living. And so they plug that. So it's very important that the admins know what it is you do for a living so you can add value and create value in that group. Don't jump into a banking group and try to be the banker in that group. It ain't going to happen. You're going to get kicked out. Don't ever try to advertise in a group without receiving permission. And always, always, always ask the group leader if there's something you can do to provide value to that group. Hey, example, last night, Toyota Tundra group that I'm in, they're having a big meetup in St. Louis. Dogtown Pizza sponsoring it, Kickin' Salsa. So here's two within our group, titans of the industry that are sponsoring it. So my next question was, is there anything else that needs to be sponsored? Why? This thing's happening in St. Louis, Missouri. Well, because a lot of people are going to come from Tennessee because it's close. So if I can plug my name in a truck group where people know who I am because I always talk about my truck, and then sponsor it and create value for those people, they may look to me when it comes time to purchase a home. Better yet, the admins will think of me because I volunteered to help sponsor something. It's going to cost me $100, but that'll be the best $100 I spend if I can get one deal from it. And if I get zero, who cares? It's $100. I've done worse with less and more. All right. So are you adding value or content value to these groups, or are you just flooding them with listings and wants for business? So when I'm in a truck group, I take pictures. I do product reviews. I'll say, hey, I just got this front suspension kit from Toy Tech. It's a great kit. Here's the pluses to it. Here's the negatives. Make sure you pick up the phone and you call Doug in regards to this kit. It's awesome. His number is XYZ, whatever it is. And the reason why I do that is, one, I've plugged the company. Two, most people will take that testament and they'll put it on their page. And so I get exposed to most people or more people because I just said something positive about their business. And I'm adding value to my group because I'm providing them with something they want to know without the ask for business. Now, they know I do mortgages. Why? Because I'll walk through and be like, oh my God, this place is dirty for a loan officer's office or a mortgage office, or you wouldn't expect all these truck parts to be sitting here at a mortgage person's office, would you? Things like that plug who I am without saying, hey, it's Alex here with Hancock Mortgage Partners. I do loans if you want a loan. By the way, this is a shock. You should buy one. But if you really want a loan, come to me. I don't do that. But I do start all my videos with the same branding technique, which is, hey guys, it's Alex here, ajnashville.com. Boom. Every single video starts the same. Unless it's a video about something more serious, then I don't do the tacky thing and plug myself. And then are you constantly or consistently providing value? We kind of touched on that.
I got one more thing on the groups, Alex, and you touched on it, but I think it's important for realtors because we've talked about adding value and content and not just blasting your listings. Some of the agents that I've seen do their best work in groups are doing it in groups that aren't necessarily just related to buying and selling properties. They're working in garage sale groups or mom groups or community groups where people are helping each other solve community issues, and they're taking leadership roles as admins of the group. So they're helping people solve problems beyond just real estate, and then of course doing the things that we mentioned previously, lightly branding themselves on their personal pages as folks that can solve someone's real estate issues. So they don't jump into those groups to just post about their listings all day and how 3 comps are better than 2 and how they can sell a house in one day. They talk about, hey, here's the pregnant mom's hotline and what you can do if you're in the middle of a divorce and things like that. And then when folks are looking for a real estate agent, they say, hey, I know Laura. She's a integral role in our community. I met her through that Facebook group. Well, Laura's an admin because she took that leadership role. She provided content to the community and value to those groups. And in return, she was rewarded with a fruitful real estate business. So I think, this concept is huge. It's part of the reason you and I and Rocky are sitting here together is Facebook groups that were built around providing value and not just advertising. So
and
I'm real passionate about this topic. Yeah.
Multiple sources of knowledge, So I had the opportunity to meet Rocky when I was in Novi for MMBC. And it was funny because the first time we actually sat and talked, we were sitting at lunch having a pizza, and I could tell instantly that him and I clicked well. There was that same spark, as far as being able to make something funny out of nothing. But then later on, him and I sat there and talked about hospitality. And I found an expert in hospitality if I ever have questions. But I also know a loan officer that's located in Novi, Michigan. Well, I know a couple. But the fact of the matter is he was able to provide multiple sources of knowledge that's invaluable. And that's a person that I will always reach out to if that comes up. And the same, like you said, goes for those mom and pop groups, garage sale groups, all the different types of groups. You may have a lot of knowledge about raising kids because you have 2 or 3, but you may also be a real estate person. But people look up to you and say, you know what, this person knows a lot about raising families. They must know a lot about real estate too, because if they know anything about real estate like they do about raising kids, they're good. And that to me tells a lot about a person when you can provide multiple streams of values to somebody. So yeah, great point, Fisher. I'm glad you brought that up. All right, so pages. Do you manage other pages? What content are you adding? And what is your purpose with these pages? So pages are great for being a source to originate ads from. And you can do ads from those pages and endorse yourself and do things like that. So let me give you an example. I did a page that was, it was a while back. It was just for renters. And what we did is we added a bunch of people that were looking at renting, and we just constantly pounded new rentals in there. And we shoved them in and started to ask about people's price points, started to get an idea of things. One of my friends, Amanda Willoughby, she's really good at this. She'll ask people, what's keeping you from buying right now? And it's amazing. But 95% of the people will say credit scores, and 5% of the people will be like, I don't know. Well, it's that 5% of the people that we're trying to reach out to, and it's 5% of people that we're trying to help. And those may be the people that you send a targeted ad to. Those may be the people that you reach out and pick up on your page in order to help out and get a lead source from. But the fact of the matter is, excuse me, what I use my pages for is to endorse myself. So if I'm on a page and it's, renters, blah, 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 I can say, hey guys, I know a lot of you are in here for renting, but our preferred agent is Alex with Hancock Mortgage Partners. Nobody knows that I'm the same puppeteer that's running the puppet, so I'm endorsing myself on this page, but people don't know I'm the one that runs it, because I don't believe you can look to see who the originator of a page is. Is that correct, Fisher, or incorrect? So you can't.
It used to be incorrect. There may be some tricks on it, but okay. I don't think you can.
Either way, if you're tuned into this page about AR-15s, and I say, by the way, if you guys are looking for a place to call your own, this is our preferred agent. He works with a lot of veterans. You're going to take that for what value the page provides to you. So if the page has provided you with a certain level of value, you're going to take that same recommendation with that same level. So it's just another way, another resource, another avenue to try to get business. Does that make sense? You have this confused look on your face, Fisher.
No, I'm doing what I shouldn't be doing. I'm taking text. I gotta go stop. No, I dig it. I dig it. I think on the pages, just like you said, they got to be congruent. They got to tie in with everything else that you're doing.
Right. I'm getting ready to hit a jackpot point on this www page. Okay. And I want you guys to pay close attention to this. It's not, are you searchable? Because we've covered that. It's not, are your profiles on all the real estate sites filled out? Because we've covered that. But do your profiles include bios? Here's what I mean by that. I don't want you to get in there and say, hey, I'm Alex. I attended Iowa State University. I've got a degree in blah, 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 blah. I've been doing this for 14 years. I'm great at it. I'm the best. I love Middle Tennessee. I love fish. What I want you to do is be a human being, because people engage with people that they like. So if I get on there and I'm searching for veterans and veterans my thing, I may say, hey, I'm Alex. I'm a current resident of Middle Tennessee. I enjoy, one of my biggest joys is helping out veterans. I also enjoy, competition shooting, firearms, off-road trucking, fish. I start to drop pieces in there that people can be like, oh, I like fish. He likes fish. We like fish. Let's fish, think about it. If you're a real estate agent, you're sitting in a car for 6 hours with somebody driving around showing them multiple properties. Do you want to sit there with nothing to talk about? So when a person engages on that page and jumps in and sees the bio and sees that you too like crochet just like they do, that's going to be an interesting conversation. So that may take you from this person that they were thinking about to you just simply because of that conversation. So the recommendation is when you fill out your bios, talk about, I have 3 kids. I enjoy shooting in my free time. I enjoy this in my free time. Make it a real bio. Don't make it something generic. I'm great at real estate because I focus on helping out every single person that I come in contact with. Guess what? If you're a real estate, you should focus on helping every person you come in contact with. If not, you're a piece of shit. Shouldn't do the business, right? So come on, let's not post the same shit the rest of our competition is posting. That's what tires me about looking at people's bios. It's the same thing with every person. Every person's an expert. Every person is the best at their industry. Every person went to college. Nobody cares. People want to do business with real people. If not, you'll be replaced by a machine that can do the same thing that every other person can do. Make sense?
Yes, all right, it does. So, I just wrote a bio a couple days ago. I'll share it with you at the end if you want.
Yeah, it's important to have, though. People want to engage with the person. They don't want the stuffy banker in the background that I'm better than you because I graduated from Yale. Well, you didn't mention that I was Yale Online University of Southern Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. I know you and I have been talking about this offline. I just wrote one this weekend for that exact reason. I'll share with you guys in a minute once we're done with the presentation.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we're almost done here. Instagram. So do you have Instagram? You'd be amazed at the amount of people in a room that are like, what's Instagram? Keep in mind, the people in our industry aren't really hip to Instagram. It's not something that's in their generation. Facebook is by default, by force. Instagram really isn't as much. So you have to get real estate agents involved with Instagram. Do you have an interest that people will follow? So once again, you go to my Instagram and you're going to see a couple different things. We're going to pull it up real quick. And it's an interest that people will follow. So I'm not taking selfies. I'm not like, oh my God, look at me, Justin Bieber in the house. Anything like that. I don't look like Justin Bieber. But what I'm doing is I'm providing things that people will engage in. And so when I get into it and get into my profile, you will see things. You see guns, me standing in front of a tank, fish, truck parts, my branding, more guns. Things that are high intensity that people engage in. There's nothing boring on here. Instagram is a story about pictures. So when Nikki Hayden died, this is a very popular picture. It's super sick with Nikki Hayden, and this got some good interaction. 53 likes is decent. It's not great, but I don't have a ton of followers. I'm building that right now. I just surpassed my amount of followers compared to the people following me. But also up here in this main line, who are you? What is it that you do? I'm a mortgage professional. I'm also a salesman, a closer, and a father. So if you're a random person that jumped on here and got onto this piece here because my hashtag was Nashville and it brought you here, you now know what it is I do, but you also know where to reach me on my website. Okay, so it's very important that you have these areas filled out. This way people can follow you. This way people can like you. This way people, if they're interested in a mortgage, interested in you helping veterans, anything like that, they can see it. I'm not gonna lie. If I was a guy that was into Toyota trucks and I saw this Instagram, I would follow myself. I may use myself for business, but these are just important bits and pieces that you should constantly use. And the key to Instagram, and I'm guilty of not doing this as much, is multiple posts a day. Some experts say between 6 and 8. That's a lot of posts. But Gary Vee, who I follow because of his Instagram presence, makes a very good point. Just take a picture of things around you to tell a story about your day. And he makes a great point. I can't tell you how many things that I've seen in a day where I'm like, oh my God, someone needs to take a picture of that. And I don't. So find things around you to take a picture of to share a story.
Do you share all your Instagram posts over to Facebook?
The story is, however, I personally don't know. I will pick and choose. And the reason why I do that is because I want different audience draws. And so in my mind, it makes sense to do this in a different fashion, So, but like I said, multiple posts, you can see where my posts start dying off, where I don't post things for a while. And hashtags are everything. Everything's a hashtag. AJ Nashville, AR-15, America, American, Don't Tread on Me. Those were all hashtags that I picked because I saw that they had quite a bit of content or quite a bit of posts, but also it's related. These are all things related to this particular weapon. So with Instagram, you have to have an interest people will follow. The masses, if you're really into theater, the masses may not follow theater, but they may follow the fact that you're into fly fishing. So you use that as a tool to put that information in that people will follow. Also post things that interest you to attract the right people. So this is where you get in your sphere where you start attracting and deflecting. So Instagram has its own way of attracting and deflecting because of hashtags. If you're interested in a hashtag, you're going to click on it. If you're not, you won't. But you'll literally have different walks of life follow you because of the things you enjoy posting. All right. So this is my cast out again on my next class, your brand. And I'll say when I'm doing this, when I'm teaching this class, so I'm going to touch on this briefly. I'm not going to get into it very deeply because this is something I want you to think about for our next class. So these are points that I want you to hit and I want you to consider when it comes to our next class. I'm driving that next class. Make sure you ask your managing broker about my next class because I want to get in front of them again. Because me standing in front of these people keep me top of mind and remind them I'm the expert, not the guy that just brought lunch in. By the way, thanks for lunch. That type of deal. the guy that's teaching them how to make tens of thousands of dollars. When I start this class, I say, hey guys, you get the donuts on the way in? And they'll be like, donuts? No. I'm like, I don't buy donuts because I'm here to make you tens of thousands of dollars, not fill you up with fattening food. And we teach. So your brand, who are you? Well, who are you? You know, what are you into? Who's your perfect client? My perfect client's a veteran. Does your brand represent you? So if I did AJ Nashville with crosses all over and you know, I don't know, something crazy, is that really me? Or is that who I want people to think my brand is? It's not. So why would I do something like that? And is your branding appealing? Is it sleek? Is it clean? Is it old-fashioned? Is it new school? You know, my brand for my custom car parts company is much, much different than my brand for my real estate type stuff. If you go to my custom car parts, it's still a clean logo, but this is a very different brand, you know, a very different look to a brand as opposed to the nice, clean, simplistic look. Why? Because this is a car parts thing. So what do guys that love cars and hot rods love? They love women. They love great catchy analogies, get laid for less. This is an air ride suspension, laying out a car, you know, things like that. So people are seeing this, or they're seeing, once again, another brand. And Fisher, just so you know, I get into these brands because I want people to see that not everything is about using your initials. You know, there's so many people that think, oh, Alex uses his initials, I got to use my initials too. That's not always the case. The case is you want to do a brand that matches what it is that you're selling, that appeals to the end user, so they jump on your site like this and they engage and say, dude, this is the sickest website I've ever seen. I want to engage with these people, okay? So by getting into it, they see that and they engage. But once again, that's a class for later on where I'll teach you how to start branding yourself in a way that people remember you. All right, let's come to our conclusion. Social media is one of the most powerful marketing tools around. Either hop on board to learn how to use it properly, or fall to the wayside. Older methods do work, but why spend hours beating yourself up to get in front of people when you can spend seconds to get in front of thousands? And what I mean by that is, if you knock on doors every day, will somebody answer and say, sell my house? Yes, absolutely. If you knock on hundreds of doors a day, by default, by chance, somebody will say, please sell my house. However, I'm not walking outside where it's hot and knocking on doors when I can do it sitting right here, reach more people and get my message across and get engagement and get future business and not get the door slammed in my face. So it works, yes, but there are better ways to skin a cat. This is just one of them. Any questions?
Well, if you're knocking on those doors all day, I want to talk to you because you got an insane work ethic. You just might not have the right methods, but I'm pretty sure the methods that Alex is teaching, if you work that hard as you do walking on doors, doing social media, you'll be the top producer in your office by hands down.
Well, here's the thing. If I'm out knocking on doors day in and day out, they're going to look out and they'll be like, is this dude selling roofs? You know, they're not going to make that assumption. They'll be like, this Hispanic guy is standing outside, because they're going to look at me and they're not going to know I'm British. They're going to be like, this Hispanic guy is selling a roof. He's at my door, when they're on the phone with the police. Especially, I mean, come on. Have you seen me? I'm getting the – so social media, once again, I feed my audience what they want to see or what I want them to see. I enjoy drinking, but you will not find a picture of me drinking on my Facebook. But you're absolutely right. Yes, if you're knocking on a door every day, please come see me because I want to do business with you. So
cool, dude. Well, Alex, we appreciate your time. If you're a realtor in Alex's market, ajnashville.com, especially if you're helping serve veterans. Alex has been very instrumental with Military Mortgage Boot Camp and his mission to serve 200 veterans this year. We're halfway through the year. I don't know if you served 100, but you've served a lot more than a lot of loan officers I know. So we certainly appreciate your passion. And I'm going to stop recording real quick, but I just wanted to show you guys, not to make this about me, but we were just talking about bios. And I think that what you said was pretty darn accurate, making a bio that is more engaging and less just about you. Can you guys see that? So yeah. I just went we had been talking about this, and I was talking about this with Brian Stevens and a few others, but I focused my bio on, what I enjoy: loans, teaching, training, hiring, expanding Hancock Mortgage, a couple of the words I want here, but I talk more about the programs that I use to help loan officers and agents, a little bit about veterans. And I talked about taking long walks to the bank, my 3 highly energetic children, smooth closings, U of M, and watching veterans get the key to their home, and I close it out with my mission statement: be passionate, be honest, get good at getting good, and let's make lending great. So I try to make it more like a story than just a list of facts.
Right.
And I think, if you're putting a bio together, that's a good method as opposed to just stating all the awards and, that you're magna cum laude and all that. Nobody cares. They barely pay attention. So cool. All right. Anything else, dude? Are you okay? You sneezing there?
No, I was waiting to see if this message popped up at the bottom of your screen, but it didn't.
Yeah, it's like, that's awesome.
You know,
Anything else, Rocky, before we stop recording?
No, I'm good to go.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, hang for just a minute, guys. I'm going to stop recording. Let's see.
I got to see this message.
I'm trying right here. Oh, God. It's terrible. Alex is terrible.
That it would pop up across the bottom of the screen like, holy cow, fish.
You're terrible. You're